But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye. I know that we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor. Because
we are looking at the top law enforcement agency in our country. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is fundamentally failing under its current leadership. The evidence is on the congressional record. The director of the FBI is using federal power to target career officials while ignoring explicit domestic terror threats. This is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of sworn testimony and documented operational failure. We will examine the exact forensic record today.
Access is recognized.
Man, oh man, there has been so much today, and I truly don't know where to start. So I'm just going to make sure that we start off with a few facts. So a couple of facts that we need to make clear for everyone is that, number one, Director Christopher Wray, when he was appointed to be the head of the FBI, was appointed by Donald Trump. Now, I will agree that I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye. I know that you got a little upset and you put on your show for your boss because it seems like you're trying to save your job when it came to talking to Senator Booker yesterday. But let's go through some of your failures. So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia, pointed out that you are already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues. And frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker.
Without objection.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race.
Without objection.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay, so here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs. You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people, and even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody, and then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap. Because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there, even though he literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing except for trying to put on a show for the apprentice, or whatever you want to call him. The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem, the one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
The time of the gentlelady has expired. If the gentleman would like to respond to any of that. Well, I mean, I'll respond. Kash Patel, as I said when I introduced him, public defender, former prosecutor, top staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, Deputy Director of National Intelligence with the National Security Council, Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, and FBI Director. I think that's a pretty good resume for the guy who's now running the top law enforcement agency in our country, and we've seen all the stats that he's given to the committee on how much better they're doing at getting the bad guys than the previous guy was doing. With that, I recognize the gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The defense of FBI Director Kash Patel rests on a specific and documented falsehood. The committee chairman claims that Patel is highly qualified and performing exceptionally well. That is a lie. We must define the lie exactly as it was entered into the congressional record. The committee chairman stated that Kash Patel has a pretty good resume for the guy who is now running the top law enforcement agency in our country. The chairman further claimed that Patel has provided statistics showing the FBI is doing much better at getting the bad guys than the previous guy was doing. This claim is presented by the Republican chairman defending Patel's authority. The forensic evidence presented by Representative Jasmine Crockett proves the exact opposite. The record shows that Kash Patel is the only director in the history of the FBI who never served with the FBI prior to joining. The evidence proves Patel erroneously posted twice on social media to take credit for catching a suspect. The record proves he did this, even though the suspect confessed online and was turned in by his own parents. The evidence proves Patel is redirecting FBI resources to play the role of ICE agents on the streets. The record also proves Patel told the Senate it will take 14 years to get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs. This evidence proves gross mismanagement and misrepresentation of federal operations. It does not prove Patel's internal state of mind, and because the evidence regarding his personal motives is unclear, I must explicitly say so. But it definitively proves his operational failures on the ground. We must analyze the power and control dynamics at play for each piece of evidence. Patel is using his authority to protect his own position and put on a show for his boss. Before he was even confirmed, Patel was already targeting career officials to direct illegal firings. He is controlling the allocation of federal resources by getting rid of the most qualified people. By doing this, Patel consolidates control over the agency. He controls the threat narrative by ignoring simple facts about right-wing extremism. He ignores domestic terrorism targeting historically black colleges and universities. He exercises power by choosing what the FBI investigates and what the FBI explicitly ignores. The strongest defense argument is presented directly by the committee chairman. The chairman argues that Patel has extensive background experience. The chairman lists Patel's roles as a public defender, former prosecutor, top staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, Deputy Director of National Intelligence, National Security Council staffer, and Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense. We dismantle this defense using the evidence on the record. None of those titles change the legal and operational fact that he has zero prior FBI experience. A resume does not justify directing illegal firings of career officials. A resume does not excuse ignoring death threats made against lawmakers. Even Republican lawmakers received death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker, and the FBI under Patel failed to inspire confidence that the perpetrators would be caught. The defense of his resume collapses against the reality of his current operational actions. Let us examine the legal and operational standard for the Federal Bureau of Investigation in plain English. The FBI is required to investigate threats to domestic security objectively. When an FBI director targets career officials to direct illegal firings, that is a direct violation of the law. When a director redirects federal agents to play ICE agents on the streets instead of investigating domestic terrorism at HBCUs, that is an enforcement failure. Law enforcement officers are not permitted to selectively ignore violent threats based on political convenience. My professional judgment is that Kash Patel is entirely unfit to lead the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Representative Crockett accurately describes him as the least qualified FBI director in history. He fails to acknowledge that the vast majority of threats come from right-wing extremism. He ignores white supremacist violence leading to children being killed and community members being shot while worshiping in their churches. This is a complete failure of professional responsibility and operational fitness. This assessment is built on the expert authority stack present in the hearing. We have Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas entering these facts into the congressional record. We have the acknowledgement of previous appointments, including Christopher Wray, who was also appointed by Donald Trump. We have the committee chairman detailing Patel's exact employment history across multiple defense and intelligence agencies. The institutional failures here are severe and widespread. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is failing to address domestic terrorism at historically black colleges and universities. The agency is failing to protect members of Congress from credible death threats. The institutional accountability mechanisms are failing while the FBI director actively gets rid of the most qualified people. The procedural consequences are clear. They are strictly documented. The FBI faces a 14-year delay in returning to full staffing levels. Highly qualified career personnel will continue to face illegal firings. Federal resources will continue to be redirected away from domestic terror threats and towards street-level immigration enforcement. The documented problem of white supremacist violence will remain unaddressed by the federal government's top law enforcement agency. These are the procedural realities.